All right, it's time for Media Watch now, and James Creedon is with us now. And James, you've been taking a look at Emmanuel Macron's speech at the World Economic Forum in Davos, and some people say it was a little bit risky for his image. Why is that?
Well, the Huffington
he's a former
Post,
banker.
Well, that's it.
I'm guessing.
Former banker. So I think we've kind of been there. We've got over this, I think, for the most part. But
some people haven't.
Some people haven't. Well, for example, I think it's Oxfam. They came out with one statistic that the Huffington Post is quoting about 82% of wealth creation last year went to the 1%. So it's that famous adage we've been hearing for the last few years of the 1% and whatnot. So I suppose there is a risk for Macron by going to what is seen as a meeting of a kind of a rich club, if you like, of businessmen, for a politician who is already being dubbed the president of the rich. And just to show you some of the things that you're seeing on the negative side before we move on to a lot of the positive commentary online. This is one cartoon from, it looks like the Canard Enchaîné from the cartoon style. Macron receiving bosses at Versailles. So on Monday, of course, there was a big business summit, a French investment summit at Versailles. And already, you know, you had this image of wealthy people coming and knocking on the door with the slogan "Choose France," and quite a different welcome then for migrants. So that cartoon would not be the first piece of commentary to make that comparison or that contrast between government attitudes to business, innovation and investment, and then the migrant crisis on the other hand. So the Huffington Post has been saying, look, there's a slight risk for him going to Davos. Hollande is the only other French president to have done that, and it was in the context of terrorism. It was back in 2015, and he went there to make a big speech about that. You would kind of but this time it was
American presidents don't tend to go because they don't want to be seen as cozying up to the elite. But of course, Donald Trump is bucking the trend this year.
Indeed,
he does not mind. He
will be coming in, I think, 2 days' time.
Yes.
But Macron, the whole point here was to really make another push, as he's been doing in China, as he did in Versailles, for France Inc., if you like, pushing this whole the Macron effect of to kind of give a lustre to France. Now, since 2016, 72%. This is statistics from the American Chamber of Commerce, of people have had positive expectations for the French economy. So actually, it was really Hollande changes brought in the second half of the Hollande presidency that's already kicked all of this into motion. Business-friendly sort of reforms that Macron, I suppose, has just continued, but it's becoming known now in some respects as the Macron effect, even if he's just actually continuing a lot of policies that were already kicked in. So in any case, that's why he's going. It's all about rolling out and strengthening the sort of positive image and the lustre of sort of choose France, France is back and all that. And actually, just speaking of that, France is back. He said it again in English at the start of his speech. It's in pretty much every headline covering this speech.
That's his catchphrase, isn't it?
That's it. France is back. And what I would ask is, where did it go in the first place? I think it was here all along, but we get the point. It's a snappy slogan.
Absolutely. He's good at those, isn't he?
Yes.
And he is good at snappy slogans, but a lot of people are saying that he's increasingly liking the sound of his own voice and making very long-winded and sometimes tedious speeches.
He did. He went on. There was one journalist following this said, for someone striving for greater efficiency, he does seem to go on a bit, wrap it up, I need more coffee. And a little bit later she said he's getting a standing ovation, but I think some people are just stretching their legs, and a big scrum for Macron at the end. But some of the choice sentences did really stay with people, and they shared them on social media. A lot of talk about moralising the global economy, the crisis of capitalism spoils not being shared fairly, as I pointed out, that Oxfam statistic of 82% of wealth creation ending up in the hands of the 1% just in the last year. But the phrase that everybody seems to be tweeting is somewhat obscure. It would require doing a little bit of research on key economists. Macron was on stage at Davos warning that if globalisation is not better managed, then Schumpeter may begin to resemble Darwin. Now, he was talking here actually about technological changes, and if these are not better managed. Schumpeter was an Austrian-American economist, and his whole thing was creative destruction. So when innovations come in, that creativity destroys what the structures that were there beforehand. In other words, economies evolve. Right. In any case, he was saying, look, if we're not careful about this, Schumpeter, the sort of normal evolution of economies towards integrating changes in a positive way that will kind of replace previous structures, this could end up being like law of the jungle, Darwinian stuff, where it's literally a
Every man
case
for
of
himself.
the survival of the fittest,
Right.
and we could end up with something a little bit
Well
wild. And
Well done for
so that was
explaining that obscure reference.
There you go. But I think he probably made that reference in order for people to go off and look up the ideas of various Schumpeter. He's already been compared to Schumpeter in
Yes, I was
editorials
going to
in the
say,
past.
yes, we've heard of him before. And Donald Trump is unlikely to be making any comments about Darwin or Schumpeter, indeed, on Friday, isn't he, when he makes his speech?
Not anytime soon, but Macron did make some little digs about Donald Trump. The Business Insider is covering it here. France's Macron sketches a vision of a new, stronger Europe with some jokes about Trump. Now, what he said is it could be hard to believe in global warming. It could, because it's very cold up there at the moment, Snowmageddon even. Fortunately, you didn't invite anyone sceptical of global warming this year. In fact, they did, Donald Trump, and he'll be there in a day or two's time. But just to finish, this news also emerged in the last 24 hours. Emmanuel Macron is actually going to be the first White House state dinner on April 24th. There's going to be a 21-gun salute. And this is all, of course, returning the favour after the red carpet was rolled out for the Trumps on Bastille Day.
All right. James, thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, Rob.
James Creedon there.